Are you making this common mistake and is it sabotaging your success? Hey, my name is Nikita, and I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs over the past 20 years discover their life purpose and live their dreams. Thank you for joining me. So, what is this common mistake and why do so many people make it? Well, the first portion is self doubt. The big mistake is doubting yourself, doubting your vision, doubting your ability, doubting yourself. And where does it really come from? Well, it comes from one of two places. The first is programming. Maybe your past programming, your past failures, you have learned to trust your failures and not trust the process. That is the biggest mistake I see entrepreneurs and leaders make. They focus on what they didn't do. They focus on what they could have done. And it's really coming from bad programming. Well, the good news is if you or somebody else programmed you, that means you have the power and the responsibility to change that program. Think about it this way. The greatest inventors, the greatest leaders in the world screwed up over and over and over again, and that allowed them to win. For example, Edison, the guy that invented the light bulb, he says he didn't mess up 10,000 times. He realized 10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest players of all time, said that he wins because he's failed over and over and over. So instead of looking at your past failures, your past mistakes, as something that is a failure, as something that is a mistake, you got to change your frame and look at it from a different lens. Because when you do that, all of a sudden everything shifts. It's not that you made mistakes or it's not that you failed. It's that you learned how not to do things. You learned what didn't work. You learned what not to do. And sometimes what not to do is just as, if not more important than what to do. I'll give you an even better example that relates to your body. What's better for you? Not eating terrible food and exercising a little bit and consistently, or eating terrible food and exercising like crazy to exhaustion? Well, you know the answer, and it's not eating terrible food. So, what not to do is actually more important in this case than the exercise, because it doesn't matter how much you train, how much you exercise, run, lift, bike, whatever. If you're eating terrible food, if you're putting bad nutrition in your body, you're not going to get the results you're looking for because you can't exercise 14, 15, 18 hours a day, but you can put good nutrition whenever you're awake. So stop focusing on the negatives and start realizing what didn't work and avoiding that in the future. That will be a lot more beneficial than chastising yourself, than making yourself wrong, than quitting. Sometimes you are so close. You just got to keep pushing a little bit more, and you will succeed. Now, the second place that self doubt can be coming from is focusing on the future. You might be afraid of either failure or you might be just as afraid of success. Let me explain. If you're afraid of failure, that's coming from the past. That's coming from your past programming. That's coming from your past training. That's coming from your past relationships. Whatever it's coming from, chances are it's coming from the past, and now you're afraid of that past repeating in the future because, again, you didn't have the right lens. But the second is you could be afraid of success. You could be afraid of losing your circle of friends. You could be afraid of succeeding and then people not liking you or people being after you. How many millionaires and billionaires spend thousands and millions of dollars on personal security because they're afraid of what would happen to their family if they didn't have that? They were afraid that people would go after them. So some people are just as afraid of success as they are failure because then they're afraid of what might happen if they succeed. Maybe people will want money from them, including their friends and family. Maybe people will no longer respect them because they will think that how they got there is dirty. Listen, this is all on you. Let go of the past. Forget the future. Focus on the present moment. And whenever self doubt comes up, recognize what it is. Recognize what it really is. And what it really is bad programming. So if you take a step back, acknowledge that you do have self doubt, but then you also acknowledge that it's coming from a place of falsity. It's coming from a place of fear, and that is false evidence appearing real. And when you realize that self doubt has no room in the present moment, then you are able to truly let it go and focus on what really matters. Focus on taking those little action steps, consistent daily steps towards your big goal. And when something looks like failure, it is just another opportunity to learn. It is another opportunity to figure out what didn't work, what did work. It is another opportunity for introspective evaluation, for you to really go deep and evaluate, hey, did I do this correctly? What could I have done differently? How can I do this better or different in the future so that way I don't get the same result? So, to remove the self doubt, just let go of the past, forget the future, be here right now, and take that action, even if that action looks like no forward movement, even if that action is just analyzing what worked, what you could have done better, and what you're going to do different in the future. Thank you for watching. This is Russ Nikita. Stay peaceful.